On August 20th of this year, NBC attacked the Epoch Times, a newspaper dedicated to political, honest reporting. They attacked it as a tool for the Trump administration. Who is the Epoch Times? We're talking to Stephen Gregory, the publisher, on today's American Confidant.
Loading the American Confidant intro.
We have $15 billion in gold in our treasury. We don't own an ounce.
And one of the problems is we don't have the gold. Other places have the gold.
It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it.
The American Confidant.
Hello and welcome to the American Confidant. I'm Jim LaFave, and we have a special show today. We're addressing a situation that people may have become aware of, the Epoch Times. The Epoch Times is a publication that's circulated in many different countries, many different languages. It's here domestically. It is a daily in some of the bigger cities, a weekly in many of the others. And it has caught attention of MSNBC. They think the Epoch is a tool for the Trump administration. We're on today with Stephen Gregory, the publisher of the Epoch Times. Stephen, how are you today?
Good. It's great to be on.
It's great to have you, sir. It's one thing to be labeled as such, and it's another thing to have a moment to be able to state who you truly are. Let me give you a moment, and if you would, tell our listeners a little bit about Epoch and what your mission here is in the United States.
Let's start with our founding. We were founded in the summer of 2000. John Tong is the man who took the lead. At that time, he was doing a postdoc in theoretical physics at Georgia Tech. He's from mainland China. He practices Falun Gong, the spiritual practice of Falun Gong. And the Chinese Communist Party had started brutally persecuting this peaceful practice. And he was watching as his friends and family in China were being targeted by this brutal regime, and he wanted to find some way to help. And so he decided to found a newspaper. He had grown up in mainland China. He'd lived in the United States. He'd seen what a difference a free press makes to a nation. And so he wanted to bring the benefits of the free press to China, and he wanted to shed light on this persecution and the human rights record in China, which was being very poorly reported by the mainstream press. He wanted to let the world know what was going on, and by doing so, to try to help end it. We were founded out of a public-spirited purpose. We were founded to try and help people in China who were being targeted by a brutal regime. That beginning has a lot to do with what we are today. We take the media very seriously. We believe that the role of the media is to tell the truth, to expose falsehood, to report the facts. And that's what we have done with the Chinese Communist Party. And when we founded an English edition here in the United States in 2004, that is what we aim to do with our reporting here in the United States. We're an independent, nonpartisan media company, and we seek to restore traditional journalism, restore honest journalism in this country.
On July 20th, 1999, the Communist Party leadership initiated a nationwide crackdown and multifaceted propaganda campaign intended to eradicate the practice of Falun Gong. It blocked internet access to websites. In October, it declared Falun Gong a heretical organization that threatens social stability. Falun Gong practitioners in China are reportedly subject to a wide range of human rights abuses. Hundreds of thousands are estimated to have been imprisoned. Practitioners in detention are subject to forced labor, psychiatric abuse, torture, and other coercive methods of thought reform at the hands of the Chinese authorities. Now, where was MSNBC reporting on any of this when they mentioned Falun Gong?
The world's media in general have done a poor job of reporting on the persecution of Falun Gong, which at the time the persecution started, media reported there were 100 million people in China practicing Falun Gong.
100 million people? 100 million practicing?
Yes.
Wow.
That is 1 in 13 of the population in China at that time. Each of those people have family, friends, colleagues. And so the number of people directly impacted by the persecution was huge. This is the biggest untold story, I think, in China today, and it's one of the biggest untold stories in the world because it has a tremendous effect on the politics inside China and on the what direction China will take as this plays out.
You know, Stephen, getting back to the media, you were talking about media now being more opinion-based, that as opposed to bringing real news and information to people, it seems more profitable and a lot more economical to just go ahead and push them the narrative that they believe in. And I wonder, you know, it makes sense now that with the threat of Falun Gong, with the force that China is as an economic might, and that our media here is very corporate and very interested in developing in China, and especially Comcast, opening up a theme park in Beijing, and Comcast owning MSNBC, and all of a sudden MSNBC doing a hit job on Epic. It's beginning to smell like a rat here. And what do you make of that connection, or do you see any there?
NBC Universal has a multi-billion-dollar project in Beijing. That's what you're referring to.
Correct.
Comcast is the parent company. Mm-hmm. And they're working directly with state-owned companies. Comcast is the distributor in the United States for China's propaganda TV network. It carries all the CCTV channels on through Comcast. NBC signed an agreement to share reporting with the Chinese state-owned news agency Xinhua. So there are deep connections between NBC and the Chinese regime. Now, the Chinese regime typically uses what they call a united front strategy. And what that means is that they seek out organizations that aren't identified with them and influence them and use them to advance their objectives in other countries. And so it would be part of a pattern if NBC was part of a united front strategy by the Chinese Communist Party, if the CCP put pressure on NBC or even simply asked NBC to attack the Epoch Times, then that's certainly within the realm of possibility.
Right. Now, let's take a moment on that. Facebook recently banned advertising with Epic, and the reason how they did it was the content of your ads, because they are not slanted towards their narrative, that they're slanted towards more of a conservative narrative, that they considered them political ads. Is that correct?
Facebook requires any ads that comment on politics or social issues to be labeled as political ads. This is their category. They first banned us in July. They never gave us a reason for banning our content. They had approved all of the ads that we ran. And so they weren't banning the ads we produced. They were banning our right to advertise through their site. Facebook has a pattern of discriminating against conservative points of view.
They sure do.
And, you know, we report honestly on President Trump, and that's something that would go against what Facebook's own predisposition is.
Last week, we interviewed your senior editor, Dr. Dana Chang. We interviewed her about the situation in Hong Kong. And this was one of the most emotional things I've ever witnessed, to see these people, the way they were, the way they're fighting for freedoms. And, you know, that plea in her voice, like, you know, the people of Hong Kong screaming for America to step in, to do something, you know, to help out. And I think at this point, I want to read you something, you know, Stephen, and this is out of the New York Times, of all things. This is dated August 27th. It's written by David Brooks. And just the last two paragraphs, he's writing about what's going on in Hong Kong. Many suspect that China will eventually crush these protests. They'll round up the leaders and force businesses to fire participants. Many suspect America will never step in to help. The American right no longer believes in spreading democracy to foreigners. The American left embraces a national narrative that emphasizes slavery and oppression. Not that America is a beacon or an example. Neither party any longer sees America as a vanguard nation whose very mission is to advance universal democracy and human dignity. But there's something stubborn about the Hong Kongers and deceptively powerful about their cause. Other protesters dreamed of freedom. These people have already lived it. It's part of their identity. They will prove more ferocious in defense of liberty than the skeptics imagine. Along the way, they may rekindle the sense of democratic mission that used to burn so forcefully in American hearts.
Wow, that's a powerful piece of writing by Brooks.
It was stunning. And really, the spirit of your journalism. Yes, sir.
In response to Brooks, I would say, yes, America can respond to freedom in other countries. We can, but we need here in the United States to also come to understand the importance of liberty and what it means to have a healthy republic. So that's what I think the Epoch Times seeks to contribute.
Stephen, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Again, to everyone, this is Stephen Gregory. He is the publisher of the Epoch Times. And I want to give a special shout out to the Epoch Times. I want to encourage our listeners to read this publication, to seek it out. They have an online presence at epoch.com. You can also get the subscription mailed to your home. Again, Stephen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, America. We'll be tuning in on the next American Confidant. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, The American Confidant, to stay up to date with every episode. And be sure to like, comment, and share. We want to hear from you, the people.